Boneyard Press also got My Chemical Romance's Gerard Way into comics by publishing Way's first ever comic book called On Raven's Wings. Maybe someday, if I ever get my grubby little hands on that comic, I'll cover it. Did I really buy a My Chemical Romance CD, a fancy little LED light, and make my girlfriend do my makeup for a gag that lasted less than a minute? Why, yes I did. Make sure to leave a like. It helps me out, and if you don't, I'm gonna cry and my mascara will be ruined.
Oh my god!
I'm so sad.
Is she okay?
I'm so sad.
Also, let me tell you about my 40-page comic anthology that is now available for $19.99. It's called Destructo Boy and Other Exciting Tales. It collects 3 short stories, a futuristic sci-fi romp, a post-apocalyptic time-traveling superhero suspense, and an epistolary tale, that means it's told through letters, of 2 vampire hunters. And if you're at all interested, check out the link tree in the description for where you can buy this bad boy. But get it now before it's too late, because this is a limited print run. Let me just say that I was honestly blown away by On Raven's Wings 2. Note that I will only be covering issue 2, because issue 1 is insanely expensive, and my girlfriend threatened to kick my ass if I bought it. But if you ever want to donate to a good cause, I do have a Patreon. This story is honestly outstanding when compared to the 2 other Boneyard Press comics that I've covered. The art is fantastic, much better than Kill Marvel. This is way better than the comic I made in high school, which was my own shitty version of Batman: A Death in the Family. That's not a hard obstacle to hurdle, honestly. So without further ado, I present Gerard Way's first ever published comic book. Released in 1994, written by Gerard Way, with art by Jose Santos, this is On Raven's Wings, Issue 2. And, like all Boneyard Press comics, this book opens up with a letter called an epitaph by Hart D. Fisher.
Do you like this book? Want to see it grow? Build an audience? Then you better spread the fucking word, because I've done all I can. I've done the cons, the seminars, the advertising. Now it's your turn. I like this series. I will continue to publish it, even if it only sells 5 copies, because I like it. But the store owners gotta know you like it, that you'll buy it. You gotta put the word to them in a language they'll understand. Dollars. Don't just quietly subscribe. Get your buddies to come in and ask for it. Have them look around the store at all the titles and then go, "You got Raven's Wings? Number 1? Number 2? No? Get it." Are you tired of getting ripped off by the bean counters who say they're hardcore? They're the edge of horror? I know I'm sick of the hype and the rip-offs, because their sweat stinks like shit when you get up close to them, whisper in their ears, "You got the money you owe me, man. You got my fix." And they'll know you're gonna break their fucking arm for what's yours, and the chips are down, and they're running because they're soft posers in a hard world. That's why I started Boneyard Press, so I could have something to believe in, to fight for. That's why I tattooed the Boneyard logo on my forearm, displaying my coat of arms for all to see. There isn't one other publisher in this business that can state their belief that strongly. Show me a creator at DC with Batman tattooed on him. This is the hardcore. This is something to believe in. This is something worth fighting for. Art D. Fisher, publisher.
Okay, you know what? Aside from a little bit in the middle, that actually wasn't too bad. Definitely not as hate-fueled as the ones in Kill Image and Kill Marvel. And it's a good message, which is to, support independent comics. Destructo Boy and other exciting tales. Story begins in a cemetery, because why wouldn't it? And a narrator begins to speak the lyrics of an unreleased My Chemical Romance song.
The curtain rises. A crowd waits, admiring the darkness in anticipation.
Oh, hey, look at that. It's Edward Blake's gravestone from Watchmen. And Janet Reno.
The mood, the scent, the silence. The electricity begins to hum charmingly, mockingly. The spotlight glows, the audience taken. A man in black, he opens his mouth and forgets his lines. The audience uneasy. He fills the room with sound. Business as usual.
Cut to the Fawn City division of Crash Comics. Alan Breen, a guy who runs it maybe, sits in his office on his phone. Oh look, there's the Max, and Batman, and X-Men, and Wolverine, I think. I'm honestly surprised there isn't a Faust book there somewhere. Alan is on the phone to verify the Captain Valor comic giveaway event going on at the, children's ward of the Fawn City Hospital. Then he smiles like a murderer. I have absolutely no idea what happens in issue 1. This is the first time I've ever seen any of these characters. I have no idea what this Alan Breen guy's backstory is, if he's good or bad, or what's going on with him. Cut to St. Joseph's Hospital. You'd think it'd be Fawn City Memorial just to tie the characters together, but apparently not. This woman sits on the floor of her hospital room as one of the doctors tries to speak with her. As they try to get her back on bed, this guy kicks open the door. This here is Detective Reeves' homicide. Oh, wait a minute. There's a comma there. This is Detective Homicide Reeves. He's here to ask the woman about the attack and to find out about Charlie Bones, aka the Butcher. Okay. Oh, what the fuck? What is this panel? What is happening? Based off of the previous one, this is the woman sitting under the counter. So I guess this is to illustrate that she's in, darkness? But what the fuck is that thing on the top of the panel? I have absolutely no idea what the fuck that thing is. Is it a hand? Is it that doctor's cleavage? What the Oh, wait a minute. I literally just figured it out. It's the bad guy's face. Those are his eyes, and that's his little, weird domino mask tattoo. Anyway, Reeves tells the doctors to leave as he lights a cigarette, and the doctor's like, this is a hospital? And Reeves just grimaces at him and says,
Yeah, that's what the sign said. Adios.
The woman, whose name is Sarah, I believe, stares Reeves down as he sits down on a table in the room. He sits there for a little, and he's just like, oh, I lost my train of thought. What? What the fuck is going on here? And what's with, the scar, I guess, on his face? Is that supposed to look like the guy on the cover's mask? Sarah begins telling him what happened, because apparently something went down that landed her in the hospital. So she got off work, and when she didn't get a ride from some guy named Sal, she walked home. That's when she asks why he isn't writing this down, so Reeves grabs a Rorschach test from the table, which, coincidentally enough, has my parents fighting on. I mean, the Charlie Bones Raven's Wings mask. Sarah says that she got grabbed by them, and Reeves is like, no, not them. Him. She starts freaking out over thinking about whatever it was that happened to her, and Reeves smiles like a maniac and asks her to do it for him? What the fuck? Is this guy even a cop? Is he the villain? That her mysterious attacker, I guess, was black and white. His face was like a skull, but it wasn't, which means literally nothing. Why mention it? But he also said something to her. How Reeves knows this, I don't know. Sarah says that she can't remember, so Reeves again demands to know if she heard him say a word. Then she flashes back to the encounter with Charlie Bones, I guess. I guess that's his name. And here's the word of power or the word of madness that he says.
Initium.
Then she freaks out and attacks Reeves. The doctors and nurses race into the room, and fucking Reeves slips his revolver back into his pocket. Was his plan the whole time to kill Sarah, or was that a last resort because she's attacking him? One of the doctors asks what the hell Reeves said to her that get her to go crazy, and Reeves is like, "Nothing," and storms off. Cut to a school playground. I don't like where this is going. This ponytailed mystery man, who may or may not be Charlie Bones, aka the guy on the front cover, watches some children play. The captions let us know that there is a killer about, salivating over his last kill. And then this gang of dorks rocks up, because I guess Charlie Bones attacked and probably killed their buddy or something. So this guy whips out a big-ass Bowie knife and rushes at Charlie Bones, and his swing is dodged, and Charlie Bones slaps his palm into his face and just absolutely butchers him. How else do you describe whatever happened to this dude's face? Charlie Bones turns around to reveal these little finger ring knives that he's wearing. Cut to another hospital, or maybe the same hospital. Reeves sits over his partner, I guess, named Shaw. Reeves exposits that he has 4 dead gang members, a crooked cop in a coma, a psychopath dressed in a Halloween costume, a child killer, a slut ex-wife, and 2 kids. Reeves, speaks to Shaw through the beeps of the heart rate monitor, and eventually he gets up saying he doesn't know what to believe anymore. As he leaves the hospital, Reeves passes the children's ward where he witnesses Captain Valor entertaining the children with antics, a shiny suit, and the illuminating power of comic books. Then he holds up a little black round thing, and he looks at Alan and then leaves. And Captain Valor, sets a kid down, turns and watches Reeves go, and then smiles creepily. Back at the playground, Mr. Bones finishes killing the second member of this 3-member gang, and then the last member grabs a nightstick from the ground and asks if he doesn't like girls, and hits him with it as she calls him oh my. Gotta love the 90s. So Charlie Bones just punches her for her homophobic views, and snaps her neck, maybe? I don't know, did he hit her so hard that her head just spun 360 degrees around? Then he adjusts his suit, and hears a voice coming from behind him. It's this little kid, asking if he's a superhero. So Charlie Bones slowly walks over to the boy, and kneels down, and the little boy says that he must be a superhero, because he beat up those bad guys who put his brother in a wheelie chair for 2 weeks. Then the boy slips a comic book through the chain link fence, says to make sure it's returned to him, and runs off. And the comic is Captain Valor. Now look at Captain Valor's mask compared to Charlie Bones's. What is going on here? When I first read the book, I thought they were the same, 2 sides of the same coin or something. I don't know, alternate personality monsters. Is Charlie Bones a demon that took Captain Valor's image and twisted it? Is he just whatever happens in The Crow? Is Charlie Bones a comic book character come to life? We all know that Gerard Way is a huge fan of Grant Morrison, so maybe. And is that boy that spoke to him, is that Reeves' son? Because he said he had 2 kids. Is Alan Breen that child killer that Reeves is talking about? Seems likely. Charlie Bones then begins to read the comic, and the caption box at the bottom says, "To be continued." Except it never was continued. Just like the last episode of What Is, in which I discussed fighting American dogs of war, this series was never finished either. Gerard, if you see this, please reveal what was going to happen in this book. Who is this weird masked man who looks like the crow on the cover but the spirit in the book? That's the end of the story. The end. The book finishes up with some ad pages for other Boneyard Press books, a page of Hart D. Fisher's weird poetry, which I just don't have the energy to read, and the coolest looking advertisement for a leather/bondage/jewelry/fetish video store that I've ever seen. I hope you enjoyed this episode of What Is. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe and share it around. Try and get Gerard Way to see this. Make him acknowledge this book. Subscribe for more comic book related content just like this. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments, and as always, leave me some recommendations if you like. Again, my 40-page comic anthology is on sale now for $19.99. Check out the link tree in the description. It is unfortunately limited to shipping in the continental United States. If you do buy it, there is an option on the website, I believe, to leave a little note about the order. So if you want, I can sign it, or I can draw something if you want. I'll see you next time for a very adult What Is episode. Bye.